So guys, obviously update 2.1 is now finally live in Battlefield 2042, and as always I'm going to be giving you guys my initial review on the update after having played probably 4 to 5 hours now since it has been live. Now before we get into it, on top of just this review there's going to be a lot of content coming up on this update as well. Obviously we got some new weapons, and I've got a video coming essentially with me just trying those out and sort of showing you guys how they play, and the loadouts that I use and that kind of thing. And then there's also a mid-season sort of like event going on that I'm not really sure what's happening there yet, but I will obviously be covering that as well. I may even do a live stream when that goes live. So plenty of content on the way. If you guys aren't subbed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But with that being said, let's get stuck into my review of update 2.1. Now compared to update 2.0, which obviously was the launch of season 2, this is definitely a lot smaller of an update. We haven't got any like crazy new content. Obviously we got the new map, a bunch of new weapons, and a specialist in the last update, as well as a bunch of skins and all that kind of thing, the new battle pass. Whereas for this update it is essentially just the renewal rework, a couple of new weapons, and then a heap of bug fixes. So it's definitely a lot smaller on the content side of things, but it is still a pretty decent update nonetheless. Now the biggest area of this for me was the renewal rework, which to be honest, leading into this I wasn't overly excited for it, not because I'm against these reworks or anything like that, but for me renewal is a map that is essentially just fundamentally not good. For me it's a little bit too like flat and open and just a little bit boring, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it. And so leading into this update I kind of thought that no matter what they change, unless they fully redevelop the map, I just don't think I'm really going to like it that much. Now what I'll say is that the changes are probably a little bit better than I expected them to be, so overall I'm actually pretty happy with the rework, because like I said, I kind of had low expectations for it leading into it. Now with the kaleidoscope changes I was actually pretty pleased with those, and that does feel like it's a bit better of a map now that it has had those changes. But what I will say about renewal is it does still feel a little bit behind when you compare it to the likes of kaleidoscope and obviously then exposure and stranded. It does still feel like a base 2042 map. So overall the changes are good. I can't really complain about them because it has definitely made the map better, and especially that sort of middle section where I think like D1, D2 and C1, where all those flags are, the sort of green field area, that area there is definitely a lot better. But yeah, overall the map is still just fundamentally not that great in my opinion. It's a little bit too flat and basic for me, but all in all definitely can't complain with the changes, because like I said, it has made the map a little bit better. Now like I touched on, we did also get a couple of new weapons, which were the P90, the Goal Sniper Magnum, or the GOL depending on how you guys pronounce it. I've always pronounced it the Goal since Bad Company 2 days, and then also the M1911 pistol. Now these are all obviously what they call vault weapons, which is just weapons that are in Portal, so these are already in the game in the Portal mode. So some might consider this to be not new content. For me personally it is. Couldn't use these in All Out Warfare before and now I can, so for me it feels like new content, and overall I'm very happy with all 3 of these weapons. Now the Goal Sniper, that definitely is pretty hard to mess up because it's a sniper, so realistically if it's a one-shot headshot and 2 shots to the body, that's pretty much the same as every other sniper in the game, and snipers are pretty hard to mess up once you've got the rest of the sniper's balance. So that one definitely feels good. It does feel very nice to use, and I'm sure I'll probably use it a hell of a lot now that it is in the game. The P90 also feels pretty decent. I will say it does feel a little bit underwhelming at times, not all the time. It does feel a little bit like inconsistent, I guess. I definitely wouldn't say it's bad. When I say it's a little bit underwhelming, I don't mean like it's genuinely a bad gun. I think it can compete up close, and it has some pretty decent recoil even though the damage isn't all that high, but that is kind of balanced out by having a pretty good recoil pattern. So the P90 overall is pretty decent. I'd say it's roughly on par with most of the other SMGs outside of obviously the K30, which is just completely busted still, but it feels like nearly as good as like the, I don't know, the MP9 for example. And so despite having a few moments where I kind of felt like, oh, I should have won that gunfight but I didn't, outside of that it is, it's good fun to use, and it's another welcome addition to the game. Now the M1911 pistol, it's a pistol. It's, there's not that much to talk about there. Firstly, pistols kind of in the same way that snipers are. They're all relatively the same when they're just a single shot or a semi-automatic pistol. But then also in the last update we got the BF50, and I think that has essentially rendered most of the other pistols pretty much useless. Or I shouldn't say useless, but I just think most people are going to run that auto pistol. So not too much to add really with the M1911. It's a good addition. More weapons are a good thing. I can't ever complain. Even if they add a bunch of new weapons and they all suck, it's still new content. So it's really not that big of a deal if it's a little bit underwhelming, but that is always going to be the case when there is a fully auto pistol with a 50 round mag. It's definitely very fun to use, and so yeah, like I said, not too much to say on the M1911 front. All three of these weapons though, they do feel like they've been integrated quite well. The M16, when that was added in the season launch update, which was update 2.0, that had definitely a lot of recoil, and a lot of people were, you know, a little bit unhappy with it. It's not terrible, but I think a lot of people were expecting it to be really decent, and because of that recoil, it is definitely a little bit underwhelming. Whereas I would say all three of these weapons, I guess the M1911, like I said, it's a pistol. You're not going to run around on a 50 kill streak with the pistol, but all three of these do feel like they've been integrated pretty well into all-out warfare. Now, speaking of new weapons, obviously at the start of Season 2, we got the AM40 and the Avancys, and there were actually a few issues that were happening with those weapons when it comes to the headshots. They are actually registering their bullets as SMG bullets, and as of update 2.0, SMGs deal less headshot damage than assault rifles and pretty much every other weapon in the game. So when you're using the AM40, for example, and you're landing headshots and you're fighting against an assault rifle, if they land headshots against you and you're landing headshots against them, you're probably going to lose that gunfight because they deal, I think it's 2.15 times the regular damage, whereas SMGs are now 1.25 times. So that was a pretty big issue that was making the AM40, and to be honest, I did not notice the Avancys, but that's what they mentioned in the patch notes, so I definitely wouldn't say it was making the Avancys feel underwhelming, because that is probably one of the best weapons in the game. But the AM40 definitely felt a little bit weak, and that has now been fixed, so that's a very good change there as well. Now, outside of that, there's really not that much else to this update in terms of like content and new things to, you know, new shiny toys to play with, but I want to show you guys on screen the list of all the changes that they were mentioning in the patch notes. And as you can see, it's a big list. There's a lot of changes in this update. There's obviously too much to go through, and it is all very minor stuff, but it does all add up. And so as you can see by that list there were a lot of fixes in this update, and so far I haven't felt anything that is, you know, newly broken. There's no like new bugs or anything, at least not that I've seen anyway. And so yeah, overall, despite, like I said, this obviously isn't going to be as big of an update as 2.0 because the season launch updates are always going to be the big ones, but overall I'm again very happy with this update. This is kind of like 6 or 7 updates in a row now that have all been really good. The mid-season updates like this one, they are a bit more of like baby steps. Like there's nothing crazy being added, but it is still progressing the game forward. It's making it slightly better each time. It might only be like 2% better each update, but after 10 updates, that is a 20% increase in the game, which already right now I do feel is in a pretty decent state. I know it's a beta, but I've been playing a lot of the Modern Warfare 2 beta that was out over the weekend and last weekend as well. I honestly probably clocked up like 20 hours on that beta, and after playing that, which is obviously a new game coming out this year, it's Call of Duty, it's the biggest shooter franchise. After playing that and then coming back to Battlefield, I've kind of like got a new appreciation for Battlefield because it does feel really good. I know, like I said, that is a beta, but Call of Duty's had its own issues lately and there's a lot of stuff wrong with that game. There's a lot of positives too, but playing so many hours of that and then coming back to Battlefield, it has, yeah, kind of given me a new appreciation for this game as well. So another solid update. Like I said, nothing crazy. I'm not going to give them like a 10 out of 10 for this. It's just a pretty decent update, but it is more content than we got last season. We obviously just got the season launch with a bunch of content, and then the next 2 updates were pretty much just bug fixes, whereas this one, we have obviously got the new weapons and the rework, and we're also getting the orbital rework as well in the next update. Plus, I believe there's a few more weapons as well from Portal, or the Vault weapons as they call them. Plus, in, I think, early October, there's actually a mid-season event. I'm not really sure what's going on with it, but I'll show you guys on screen. Shout out to Temporial, who is the data miner. He's found a bunch of skins related to this mid-season event that's going on, and they're actually all some pretty cool skins. And so we're getting that, which I'm not sure if that'll come with an update or if that's just something that'll go live in the game. And then later that month, we're also getting the orbital rework and a few new weapons and stuff too. So these mid-season updates are definitely better than the season 1 mid-season updates, but hopefully in season 3 we can, up the ante even more, maybe get some actual genuine new weapons in these updates and stuff too. And I think that would put it on track to be, keeping up the pace with essentially any other shooter out there in terms of content. Maybe not in terms of maps, because I think we're only going to get 1 map per season, but outside of the maps, we're probably going to be getting the same amount of weapons and all that kind of stuff, skins, battle pass content, all that. We're probably going to be getting the same that you would expect from Call of Duty, getting more than games like Halo, which are, also in a bit of a tough situation at the moment. So these updates have been slowly but surely getting better, and I think the state of the game is in a much better place right now. So overall, good marks for me from this update. I'm keen to hear what you guys think though, so be sure to leave your thoughts on the update down in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the new weapons, as well as the renewal rework, and then like I said, I've got plenty of content coming up over the next few weeks about the new weapons, and I might even do a new, like a proper deep dive on renewal as well if you guys are interested in that. So plenty of content on the way. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel, then definitely hit that subscribe button, and if you guys want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.